right through me. For a moment, I couldn't move. Then the papers were sliding into my hand. I took a shaky step back, tearing my eyes from Devon's to start the transactions on my computer. It took several minutes, and I was hyper-aware of him studying me. It made me nervous how much that small touch had thrown me. Was he toying with me? I had to cancel my work a couple of times and start over, which was irritating when I wanted to get him out of here as quickly as possible. Finally, I was finished. I stepped over to the printer to retrieve his receipts, and my toes screamed in protest from the $200 leather boots I'd been unable to pass by in the store. They looked amazing, but wearing them to a job where I stood for 90% of the time had been a mistake. I winced, grabbing the papers and glancing at the clock again. 2 minutes, thank God. I swore I was going to walk home barefoot rather than put up with these boots another second. I handed him his receipts, careful this time not to touch him or allow him to touch me. "Everything all right, love?" Devon asked. His eyes were the lightest of blues with a web of fine lines at the corners, as though he'd spent too much time squinting into sunlight. Some might compare his eyes to an ocean or the sky. I likened them to ice. I forced a stiff smile, thinking, "Don't call me that." "I'm fine, thank you. Have a nice day." "Now leave," I silently commanded. The barest hint of amusement crossed Devon's face, as though he could hear inside my head. Then it was gone. He leaned closer. "It's been a pleasure, Ivy," he said softly, the words polite and harmless, but edged in something too close to seduction. Devon had never before called me by name, though it was printed on the gold nameplate in front of my window. Ivy Mason, teller. I watched him as he walked across the lobby and out the door. "Girl, you are blind. That man is drool-worthy and hot for you, my friend." I turned at Marcia's teasing and grimaced. "I have no idea why he always comes to my line," I groused. "I'm not nice to him." Marcia rolled her eyes. "Gee, why does he come to my line?" she mocked. "It's a total mystery. The fact that you could be a flipping model wouldn't have a thing to do with it." I sighed inwardly. Marcia meant well, but I wasn't a girl who valued my looks. They'd brought me too much trouble. I had hair that women paid thousands of dollars to try to achieve. Pure white blonde that was thick, long, and straight. My eyes were a combination of brown and green so that they seemed gold, and I'd been blessed with high cheekbones and full lips. I'd been compared to a perfectly delicate porcelain Barbie doll, a comparison I hadn't appreciated. Most women disliked me on sight just on principle, so I went out of my way to be nice. Marcia was one of the few who'd befriended me immediately when I started working here 6 months ago. "I think he's weird," I replied. "Something about him is just off." I knew his type all too well. They presented a perfect face to the world, then were an utterly different person when no one was looking. "He's rich and gorgeous," Marcia said wistfully. "I could overlook a lot of weird for those two things." I burst out laughing, my good humor restored by Marcia's irreverence. She was completely unapologetic about her goal of finding a rich husband. Period. She'd moved to St. Louis a year ago from the middle of nowhere, Iowa, and had been on the hunt, as she put it, ever since then. So far, she dated a lot, but as of yet, no proposals. "He's got to be at least 8 or 9 years older than us," I argued. "An older man who knows what he's doing," she retorted, waggling her eyebrows suggestively. "You mean an older man who'll die first and leave you his money," I teased her. She laughed. "I wouldn't complain. So, do you have big plans for the weekend?" I shook my head. "Not really. Logan and I are meeting a friend of his for dinner. I don't really know what his plans are for the rest of the weekend. I'm counting on doing a whole lot of nothing." Marcia shook her head. "I don't understand this relationship you have with Logan," she said. "You're living with him, but you're not together." "I told you," I said. "We're just friends. I needed a place to stay that didn't cost a fortune when I moved here, and his roommate had just moved out. End of story." What I didn't